Greetings, colleagues. Sorry for the delay. Welcome to our Entrepreneurship Ecosystem Variety Show. We promised that we're going to have a 5-series talk with Mathe Moshoeshoe on real estate and property business. And today we want to talk a bit about the Township Backrooms business. And Mathe is going to give us a bit of a background history to it, the potential the market has, compliance issues, any funding models, innovation, and the Rental Act. It's quite a lot to cover in a short period, but it's a continuation of a conversation. I'm Sam Zimmer, I'm the co-host. And I have been here in the last session, so I know exactly where we started. And I'm going to ask the colleagues to just say a few words. And then, of course, we hand over to Mathe to introduce herself once more. And, of course, give us a context. And then, of course, we will engage in a conversation. It is a conversation. Over to whoever is ready. Let's start with you, Akona.
Good evening, and I'm delighted to be here. It is a very special topic for us that we're covering, and we're happy to have Mathe, whom we did have last time, and we actually learned quite a lot from our last show, and I'm looking forward to today's conversation. And like Sam had alluded a bit earlier, that our people have not explored the property industry as much as they could, and we're here to get all that juice and all that application and practical solutions and ideas around the property and how we can sustain economically our people, especially the youth and upcoming entrepreneurs. So I'm really looking forward to today's show.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Akona. Ruben?
Good evening, listeners, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be a part of this today. My name is Ruben Rambuda. I'm part of the team. We are eager to learn on this. About this property. We have engaged ourselves in lifelong learning, and I think that is quite a pleasure to have that opportunity. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Ruben. Mr. Maisela.
Thanks, Mr. Sam, and good evening, listeners. Good evening, colleagues. Well, my name is Maynard Maisela. We are today going to learn about these backroom businesses with Ms. Moshoeshoe and the other colleagues. Our aim is just to inform and educate. We're going to develop and support each other. We're going to learn more in this program. So let's all enjoy. We're going to learn more and we're going to gain knowledge out of this. Whoever has got any idea in terms of this backroom property business, this is the platform for you to learn everything that you might need.
Great. Thank you. Mathe, over to you. We're glad that you can join us and start the series. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Good evening to Mr. Zima. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And to everyone, Akona, Mr. Maisel, and Abdi Ruben. My name is Mathe Moshoeshoe. I'm a property entrepreneur. I've been in the real estate business for the past 15 years. So this will be my 16th year actually. So today what we're going to discuss actually is about the backroom business. Where does it start? I mean, how do people end up building backrooms? Where does this concept actually started from? So we're going to explore things like that. We're going to talk about the compliance. We're going to talk about the different funding models that are available. And then also we're going to talk about the innovation, what can be improved with this backroom business in the townships market. And then we're going to talk about the Rental Act, the do's and the don'ts, the rights of the landlords, those who are actually building these rooms, and also the rights of the tenants. So we're going to try to cover as much as we can. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'll try to make sure that I cover everything. But I hope everybody will enjoy. I have done research on this, and also others is just based on experience. So thank you so much.
But Sam, you're
You are on
muted.
mute,
Sorry,
Mr.
I was saying that maybe take us through the history, but also explain to us why it's such an important component of the real estate and the property business.
I think let's start about why the backroom business is so important. Besides being part of the real estate portfolio, the first thing is that a lot of people are coming into Joburg to seek opportunities. And people who are coming into Joburg, they always come to the township because it's always affordable. That's where people start. And now it's so important because we don't want to see the township in a limikuku emingata. So now the rooms becomes a very better alternative for accommodation. So that's where we're going to start. Now let's look at how did people end up building rooms? Where does this concept that rooms started from? If you look at the back of in the 1990s, when you look at the township at that particular time, there were a lot of shacks, right? People really didn't have backrooms. And then came a bank called, I don't know if you guys remember, and now I'm going to reveal my age, but then there was a bank called PEM Bank, and Allied Bank. Can anybody, people who are my age will know those two banks. So what they did is that after 1992, they then started wanting to improve the township. So they went to our grandmothers then, and then they said that we'll give you money to build rooms and to do a bit of renovations whereby people started doing the gutters and all of these things, and then they will then take your title deed, and then you will have to start repaying them every month. So the concept of the backroom started whereby people don't have to build shacks in their houses. Instead, they can now start building proper structures. And I think at that particular time, you will find that in one house, which was a 4-room house, there will probably be about 10 siblings staying in one house. And then they opted to do shacks at that particular time. And out of that, when Allied and PEM Bank started now investing in the township market, instead of having shacks,
On mute, Mathe.
myself. Well, sorry, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I'm talking now. Okay, let me start then. What I wanted to say is that the backroom business, where did it start? It started back in 1992, if I'm correct, to 1993, or just after 1994, somewhere 94, 95, 93. There was a bank called Allied Bank, and there was a bank called PEM Bank. Those two banks were the bank that started actually borrowing money to Bonkgono ba rona in the township. And what they did is that they would then give you money to build this back room. So instead of having the shacks in a house, they will give you money, then you build these back rooms, and then they take your title deed. And then you need to start repaying them for building those rooms. And that is, if you will understand that back in 1992, 93, 94, a lot of people actually, RDPs were not built at that time. So in one house, you will find that, I know where I'm coming from, in my grandmother's house, there were about 15 of us in one place. So my aunties and their kids, they were all a streamline of shacks. And then when PEM Bank started investing in the township, those were sort of innovation that started in the township. But instead of people having shacks, people now can start having a proper structure called a backroom. So meaning that a family of 15 people now can stay in one yard, but now in little rooms. That's where the concept actually started from. It started whereby it was an alternative accommodation for siblings. So Pam and Allied started doing that, and more backrooms were built in the township. That's where it started from. Now, over the years, the concept of the room, it has always been older people who were actually having these backrooms. But now with the younger generation coming in, and people start seeing that when we moved out, or our mother started moving out and getting their own RDPs or getting their own houses, this backroom actually started being empty. And when they started being empty, obviously, older people started now leasing it out to strangers like the public, and then the business at the backroom started there. So that's the background of where this is coming from. Even though that Pam Bank and Allied Bank did a wonderful job, but they also created problems also in the township, because people didn't understand that when you took that loan to build those backrooms, you actually lost ownership of your property. Then when some people failed to pay that loan, and now when the major changes happened, whereby Allied Bank and Pam Bank went to be Standard Bank and went to be Absa Bank, and those two banks started repossessing properties in the township, that's where the major problem we're sitting with whereby there are certain areas in the township whereby you can't even do evictions. The problem started from there. So the backroom history is about that. It was a concept to make people who have bigger families to help other siblings to have proper structures instead of having shacks.
So it looks like now it's an income generating option. That when you have a house, you must also have a space the way that you can rent out. So rental is becoming a source of income.
It became a source of income. So our grandmothers, obviously, they will lease it out and there won't be any contract. It was just a way of them making an income. But then other people start realizing that this can be a business that can be run and you can be profitable in it. That's where you start seeing that people now started buying a house and demolish the structure and start building what you call your 2 stories and then leasing them out. But however, my concern with this concept, especially in the township, is that certain things are not followed. People are just building whereby they don't follow bylaws. So when you look at the bylaws of the municipalities, that for every room you build, you need to have a parking allocation to it, number one. Number two, for you to be able to build what we call a high density structure, the zoning needs to be on res 2. And most properties, especially if it's a single house, the zoning is always res 1. So now, but obviously people that are building the township, obviously those bylaws, is either people are not aware of them or people are completely avoiding them. The problem also comes whereby you find now electricity is an issue. We're already having a load shedding problem in South Africa. Now, imagine that if we all don't follow the bylaws and then we build 20 rooms or 10 rooms in a yard which was actually designed for a 5 family. Now there's 20 people in that particular house and the structure hasn't been done properly. That also caused certain problems. The plumbing system, it wasn't designed for 20 people. So bylaws are there to guide that. Can you build how many structures in that particular house? Will the municipality, will the infrastructure be able to accommodate 20 more people in that particular single structure? So those are the things that are causing problems also in the township, whereby people are not following those laws, but it's a good business. People are doing it. It's making money for them. It's improving the township. It's also improving the economy and also opening up other opportunities. But there are also those red zones, whereby people, if they don't pay attention to them, in the longer run, we could find ourselves being sidelined of certain opportunities.
I don't know of my colleagues here who have actually been a resident in a backroom. I have a full experience of that, and I'm glad you're sharing this experience background with me, because I didn't know. I just thought that people just decided, you know what, we need space, and then they just decided to build. I didn't know that it was initiated by the banks. But one thing I know is that they play a huge role for people who are transitioning into the urban areas
Yes.
to study or to start a career. They almost liken them to a mini bus industry, mini taxi industry. You know, they just came about informally and became at the center of the economy.
Yes.
Though if you have a lot of mini buses taking people to Township and there are no backrooms, there is disconnect there. So that, and I must tell you, you win yourself new family members by those backrooms, because you stay there and they become part of the family.
Yes.
I don't know about my colleagues, but that for me has been, I'm here because of the backroom residence that was given to me.
Yes.
And I had to pay, of course.
Yes. Yes. Is there any other questions? Anybody who wants to ask anything before we can move?
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's not a question per se, but
maybe
like Sam is saying about, you know, the being informed. I also did not know the history of backroom rentals in the township. However, I do know that it has assisted a lot of my friends as well in that transition between, you know, getting your first job and, you know, commuting to work in town and eventually moving to the suburbs. So it is a launching pad, and there's great value for it within our economy, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then you must also remember that the backroom business, what I'm actually excited about is that if you go to the township now, there are complexes. Now, this business, there are people who are taking it to a whole new level, whereby they are now building proper complexes, but as backrooms. So you find that there is no house, there's no umastandi, there's no owner who's saying that. What it is, it looks like a complex, maybe with 20 rooms, and then people who have their own parking space, and then others, they have entertainment centers, others have laundry rooms. So, but those ones are very expensive. You find those ones, they're actually renting out for something like 3.5 for just one room. So there's a little bit of concept designs that are coming into this business, which I'm really excited about, because now, as much as we want to provide accommodation for people, but we also have to make sure that people are playing in decent places. It's not nice for people to stay in dirty places just because they're desperate for a place to stay in. We want to see people who are actually there to provide a proper structure for people to stay in. And I think this will then lead me to my second discussion, which is about the compliance. There is a health, what the Rental Act, and with the new bill that is coming, that's going to be effective on the 1st of October 2021, is that they're going to start now. If you are umastandi and you are renting out, you've got rooms, you need to have a health and safety occupation certificate. So that is required. So you also need to have sure that your space have what you call, you know, those fire drills, so that in terms of fire, people can be able to know you need to follow the Safety Act. So that is actually now a requirement. Your structure must be compliant according to the regulation. So, which is very good. Whereas those things were only applicable to what we call buildings, or when you go to your bigger structures, whereby it's the entire building, there's need to follow certain compliance or safety regulations. But now with the rental, with the backroom business, it's now a must. Your building, your structure must be compliant according to the Health and Safety Act. That is only effective from the 1st of October 2021.
So that means the regulators are seeing this as an industry of a kind.
Yes. It's a huge market, and it's a market that is making money. So now, but at the same time, people should not be exploited, because there are instances whereby certain rooms are not properly wired. Number one, you find that wires are just running across the room. You find that now and again, electricity is tripping because there's an overload. The structure was not built properly. So now it's important that people are also safe, because the lives of people and the safety of people must come first before money. So I'm glad that the regulation is actually looking into those things whereby properties must be well maintained.
Yeah, I think you're very right, Mathe. But like I just need to get a clarity maybe on the issue of this compliance, especially the act that is coming towards the end of this year. In terms of the existing backrooms, especially looking at let's just give an example with the Tembisa. Tembisa can call it a backroom hub in a way. That's where huge backrooms are happening there.
Yeah.
So looking at the existing structures there, how are they going to make sure that they meet the compliance status? Because I think even though they are majority in terms of the backrooms there, but in terms of compliance, I can say maybe it's only 5% that is compliant. I mean,
2%.
compliance exactly. I mean, compliance in every respect, whether electric-wise or structure-wise. I mean, how do we make sure that we educate those people now to go back and start to comply with their structures?
I think what they're doing now, they're actually planning to do when the last conference I attended last month at Backrooms Hotel, is that they're actually looking to doing customer awareness workshops around the township to educate those who are actually responsible for providing these backrooms, that they have to do the structure very properly. So it's not, I don't think it's something that's gonna be solved right now. It's a long-term plan, but I think this is the start. Because you must remember that when people started, there was no law that was looking into the backroom business. And now we're talking about 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And now, because now it's a business that they can see that it's making money, that can see that it's a market that can grow, obviously they will want to regulate it. When governments start regulating a certain market or a certain industry, you must know that there's a huge potential in it. So now, obviously, it's a long-term plan for them. By now, start engaging the public, talking to, they also want to engage with, your street committees, whereby they can start educating them, so they can be able to educate the public. So that's what I think. That's what they want to do. But it will take time. It's not something that's going to happen over now. But those who are building them now, then they will have to comply.
How is this?
Okay, can go them.
I wanted to ask Mathe, how is this impacting on the township planning? Because a particular township is planned to accommodate a certain number of citizens or residents.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
People build more of these. So that means also the township planning needs to be brought into it. That if you plan to build 500 houses, you can take 500 and multiply by 2. That gives you an additional other 2 rooms. That gives additional other 2 families.
Yes.
I'm just mentioning it that is going to definitely require the authorities to take that into account.
I think the authorities, with the new act, the authorities, the municipality will have to maybe to assign town planning to start visiting those structures. And I think this goes back to bylaws. Remember that by law, when you want to build a structure, you need to get permission from the municipality.
Yes.
But we know our people are not doing that. They're just building. I've got money. I've got a structure. I've got a property. I demolish it. I build 10 rooms. That's it. But I think with the new rental act that's going to be effective now, the municipalities now they are forced to make sure that they go into the township and make sure that each and every structure is complying. They need to issue a certificate of compliance according to the Health and Safety Act. So now the town planning, then I think it will be what they will, how can I put it? They'll be forced to now to look into the backroom business and how people are doing it. But are they going to win? I don't know, because our people, you know, that when something is now introduced and they don't like it, they're going to do it. I don't know. And they will say, this is my house. Why must you come and tell me what should I do in my own property? And those are, I'm just being real. But I don't know what's going to happen, you know, but let's hope for the best. Because the major concern here is one in that the bigger companies, your big five, are now also start building in the township. And now they're building big capacities. So if our people don't align themselves, they might actually just miss out on a huge opportunity. Because now if you don't align yourself with bylaws, it means that in future, or how can I put it? Let me put it this way. When you look at how a townhouse is built in town or in the suburbs, they are building them as sectional title, right? So a sectional title is that we can have 10 rooms, by each and every one of them will have its own F number or its own sectional title number. The same concept is when they build a hotel. There can be 100 rooms in a hotel building. Each and every room has its own sectional title number, meaning that I can sell this room and still keep the next one. Now, if we don't follow the bylaws, we are actually now locking ourselves into being able to take this to the next level. Because if we follow bylaws, then you will know that when you do your rezoning, you can actually now zone that particular property so that you can also open a sectional title registry. So that when you are building 20 rooms, each and every room can have its own registration that is separate. Meaning that in future, should you want to sell, you can sell maybe 3 rooms and keep the remaining ones. But now, how we are building them, if I want to sell a Backroom or wherever I've got them, I must sell the entire structure, which doesn't make sense to me. Why would I want to sell the entire structure? If I've got 20 rooms, I must sell the entire 20 rooms and then go and start again. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. But if you follow how white people are doing it in the suburb, if they're building a complex, they've each and every townhouse or each and every room, let me talk about hotels because then it will make much more sense. When they're building a hotel in this room number 1 to 200, each and every room has its own sectional title, or it has its own sectional title F number, meaning that we can sell room number 101 and still keep the other rest. That's how we need to do it. And for us to do it in the backroom business, we need to follow the bylaws, because then they will guide us in that particular land, how many of them we can build and what would be the density that would be allowed.
So there's a lot of education that needs to be in. It's a great opportunity, but it's also a huge risk if you don't know how to go about it.
It's a huge risk if you don't know how to go about it, because then I see people who come to me sometimes whereby somebody, they've got maybe 8 rooms, right? And now they want to buy another property that's got 15 rooms. And for them to buy the next property, they must sell this one to fund the next project. But it's like but you move at the same time. But if you build it nicely and properly, you sell maybe 3 of them, you keep the rest, you take the money from the 3, you reinvest it to the next project. That way you are now building your portfolio properly.
Now, Mathe, this is very informative.
Yeah, I wanted to...
Now, given, sorry, Ruben, given the type of people that would typically build in the township, it is obvious that once the structure is formalized and there are regulations, it's regulated, it will create issues of anxiety, I guess, because then you're used to just building your structure, getting people to rent, and then you continue with your life. Now there are new things to be done. There are formalities to be followed. There's a red tape to be dealt with.
Yeah.
Are there any agencies or perhaps mentors in terms of now guiding somebody to say, all right, you have your structures, but in order to do it right, follow this kind of path, or go to a certain agency, pay a fee, they will represent you at a municipality level, and they understand these bylaws better, and there are certain paths that you need to follow, and you can just pay a small amount or however fee that you pay, because I can imagine they would be anxious and intimidated by, those laws and regulations. So is there some type of assistance?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I don't know any company that you can go into unless you need to go into a town planner who can be able to assist you. But what I have done is I have actually offered my services as a real estate investment broker. So when somebody comes to me, I would then advise them that in this particular market, remember also in the township, the prices are not the same, or the rental per square meter is not the same. So what can be leased out for 3,000 rent in this area, in another area in the township, you can't do that. So then I advise a person that if you want to maybe, let me take Ekurhuleni, let me take about what you call Catharas. If you want to invest in Greenfield, for instance, in this market, you should not spend anything more than 400,000, because the rental cap in that market, you cannot lease for more than 1.5 in that market. Doesn't matter how beautiful your rooms look like, you just cannot get anything beyond that. Now you look into Fosloras, there you can spend up to $1 million rent, because that market you can lease up to 3.5. So even though it's still the township market, you need to know the rental square meter per area, that in this area, rooms, they start from this price to this price. So when you invest, you need to invest from this amount up to this. And then that's it. Anything that's beyond that, you actually now just be wasting your money, because you're not going to be able to break even quicker. Because that's also very important. The time that you invest and the 3 years, can you get your money in 3 years' time? If you can't get your money in 3 years' time, you should invest in that market. You're not going to get your return. So it's also important that people also understand that. And I think that if Ruben is an accountant, he would then can assist that you want to get your money quicker when you invest. I get that, Ruben. If I'm correct, can accountant I get that.
Thank you. Yeah. Can I come in also on something? I just need to appreciate the fact that this backroom economy, it seems to be an economy that was started in a very highly innovative environment. And I see a situation where a future trend, I think, even in that maybe government introduces some additional compliance issues, they will still bypass and innovate further, because there's obviously also a kind of a clash of the cultures, if I may say, Africanism versus the Western culture of doing things. They did this those years, 1992, just as part of survival at that time sense. And now we are sitting 21, there's a pandemic. Tell you, they I guess they will innovate, and I guess because they say hunger forces people to innovate even faster than government, because these are people who are they just want to survive, whatever it takes. They do. So those are some of the observations that I made. Really, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I was also concerned about that. Compliance is important, but the idea should not be killed. You know, the why people do it, they should actually be helped. At the same time, be assisted to comply because non-compliance is got its own risk.
Yeah, that is
but
correct.
I guess the compliance has to be put forward. The law must be there, and then you make people comply with the law. But I think from the entrepreneurship point of view, we need to be very creative because, Ruben, that's a business on its own. The question that was asked by Akona about, is there anyone who really mentoring and assisting these people who want to be in this backroom business to meet the requirements of the law? It might be not because they don't want to. It might be because they don't understand the process of filing the papers, and like any other business, you need to comply with certain forms.
Yeah, so I think that's an opportunity on its own.
Yes.
It's an opportunity on its own for consulting.
I don't think people in the real estate, will first go there. They will go there later when it becomes very lucrative.
Yes, that's true. So I think those who can consult, they can go into that business, start consulting and start helping people to put the paper together, help people to get the funding, to outsource. I think the most important is to outsource the property at the right location. So all of those things, it needs a consultant who can do the runarounds for that particular individual, and then they charge a fee for that. Yeah.
But you say that this has led to more property developers coming into townships now, building bigger structures.
Yeah.
Are we seeing a migration from backrooms into people now wanting to own units in these bigger structures?
Yeah, what I've picked up is that tenants also, they want better places. So you will find that when a tenant is looking for a place to rent, they will ask you one question, two questions actually. Does he have a bathroom? If you stand and there's no bathroom, it's a no-no for them. So now people, what they're looking for something like a proper complex, like a unit that you go and rent out in Johannesburg CBD. So I think with Cosmopolitan now started building, especially in the East End, and they're building these apartments, and they're quite reasonable actually. More developers will now have to come in and start building those units. Instead of doing backrooms, they will have now to do your 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, so that even families can be able to rent out, but still in the township. Because your social housing, okay?
Sorry, please do continue.
Now, I was just going to say that, remember, there's also SHRA, which actually builds social housing and units in the township, but also they're not building enough. So now developers, now there'll be a demand for land, and it goes back to our previous conversation that everything starts with the land. Those who own land can be able to capitalize on this opportunity and now start building units in a bigger scale. So yeah, I wanted to say SHRA is there. They're offering social housing, but it's not enough to accommodate the demand that is there in the market for your backroom business or your affordable rental. Let me put it that way.
Yes, my next comment was going to be that around the terminology around the word backroom rentals, because now as we move further into the innovation and with developing apartments rather than backroom rentals, then it might, because I can imagine it does come with a bit of stigma, the term backroom rental, because back then it was used, and now we're moving furthermore into more comfortable living and facilities. You know, there's most likely Wi-Fi, there's most likely there's no landlord or landlady anymore, which then doesn't make it a backroom anymore. So maybe there's room for education and expanding as to the affordable accommodation, and maybe removing that stigma of if you rent in the kasi, then
Yes.
you are in some type of category within the economy, because there are lots of innovation and changes that would actually make people that want to live there be more enticed, and not see it as some kind of a reverse in terms of living spaces type of thing. So I think there is room for change in terminology as well.
Yeah, I think there's also, you're actually quite right when you say, I think the term backroom will have to change. And then, but if you look at also, that the theme is that when you go to the township, there's a lot of empty shops. So those shops now can then be refurbished to build proper structures. If you go to Ekazi, Enikazi, you'll find there's a lot of empty shops. Remember, with the new malls coming to the township, it actually killed the shops that our grandfather had, and they didn't make money, and they decided to close. So those shops are now standing vacant. And then now with this backroom business, the opportunity now is to start buying those buildings and then revamp them and do proper structures, your 2-bedroom, your 3-bedroom in a township, and then list it out for a very good amount.
I believe the township is just becoming a unique kind of an economy, and it's going to become a chosen lifestyle to be there. So even calling it an affordable accommodation, it will still be challenged, because if I really love the township lifestyle and that's where I want to do business, I wouldn't want it to be secondary to the Santon of this world. And then you see more and more people going back to townships on weekends to have fun.
Yes.
Because there is fun in the township. So it's becoming a
lot of fun. Sure.
Becoming a lifestyle. And the malls emerging in the townships as well. So this is a phenomenon that I don't think we should take it lightly. Because
no, we shouldn't.
It's the same as if you look at the rural areas where we never thought that mining will emerge. Today you have rural places of Skukune where mining is emerging, and you must see the structures people build there.
Yeah.
Ruben?
But also, but remember, when you Google the word township, it explains itself. Underdeveloped area. So meaning if it's underdeveloped, it's got a potential to be developed and to be make something great. So township stands for underdeveloped area. And that was according to the apartheid era, whereby a township, when they named a township, it was an area which was classified as underdeveloped. And the word itself tells you there's a lot of opportunities that can emerge from that market. There's a lot of innovations. There's a lot of things that can be done into the township. It's a gold mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think indeed it's quite a lucrative market. I've seen in our, for example, down in Vendat, next to the university, there's quite a lot of backrooms that businesses that are being developed, but they are being surpassed by some better class properties that are being developed. And I think one major issue here, which I want to ask your indulgence, is the issue of land ownership versus just building those backrooms on maybe a bonded piece of a property.
Okay, can you repeat your question again? I didn't get
because
that.
What most villages, out of the villages that I know, especially in Limpopo, you find that still belongs to the but again, would say high class properties in form of backroom, those improved backroom, but they are not like old fashioned backrooms. They are, and I think the strategy is moving from just building those backrooms in a property that is maybe bonded, but they are doing it maybe on a property that is owned, probably. To say it's a future trend, what do you see? Do you see them this township economy or rooms being developed maybe on rented, on bonded properties, or on free, or on that is owned by our people? Because that determines exactly how they actually benefit going forward in those properties.
Okay. Yes, these backrooms, if you're asking that, can this backroom be built on a property that has finance over it? Yes, that is happening already now. And also what I know is that Absa Bank itself, they are now funding anyone who wants to buy a property that has rooms, and they will actually give you finance for that. The only thing is that if you take the finance from Absa, it's called buy to let. For a period of 1 year, they will choose their own property management company to manage that property for you. That's number one. So there's a lot of that's happening already. Then there's a program called Umastand. So Umastand is only there to finance properties in the township and in Soweto. I don't know if now they've moved to other areas, but 2 years ago when I spoke to them, they were only doing properties in Soweto. It's either it's a vacant land or it's a property that you own, but you need to have a full ownership of that particular asset, because now they're going to but how can I put it in simple words? They will bond your structure, and then they will own that particular property of yours and then finance you over it. Like they will take security on the asset itself and then give you money to build backrooms. So they're doing that also. There's also a government agency called GPF. So what GPF does is that they also fund people who want to get into the rental space. But then this is for bigger projects. So if you want to build maybe 10 units or 20 units, you must have the land, and then you need to follow what they need. Their paperwork is quite a lot of things. They need your financials, how much it's going to make. You must have architects. So that one, it's actually, it's a lot of work, but anyone can actually go to GPF site and download and find more information. And then there's also angel investors, those who will actually give you money to buy this particular property and rent it out, and then you pay them as your tenants are paying rent every month. So yes, bonded houses can actually be used to build backrooms. Absa Bank is doing that already. It's a buy-to-let product that they have currently. As a home loan is also financing people who are buying properties with backrooms. That is also available also.
If you think of I'm talking to the point on the potential of the market.
Yeah, which means that
listening to you talking about this, it is actually a response to a demand for housing. And,
yes.
and for as long as there's a shortage of housing, these many options will always be there. And I think that's where entrepreneurial opportunities are. Yes. But I think the government wants to stop the growth of informal type of entities. So it is a very insightful thing that there is a proactive thinking to say, hang on, this thing is going to grow ever and ever. And if we don't come with regulation and standards, it could go out of hand. So anyone who wants to go into the township backroom rental must understand that they're going to invest a bit of knowledge, a bit of energy. But once you have done it proper, you actually could even insure it. You could actually, it could become the beginning of the business in real estate. What do you think?
It's exactly the way you're saying it. The market this market is going to grow so much. But we need to make it to be formal. People need to realize it's a business. It's a business that is regulated. You know, we are not just doing it because we feel like doing it. You need to follow certain regulations. And if you do it properly, the nice thing is that you can actually multiply it. And I always tell people that real estate, it's a game of numbers. Once you get it right, it's easy to multiply because if you do it properly the first time, the first asset can finance the second one and so on. And then in less than 3 years, you could be owning more than 350 units if you do the first one properly. You need to be able to do the first one properly and then start multiplying. So it's a big market. And there will always be people who want to rent out, especially in Gauteng. Gauteng is where people come to for a lot of opportunities. There will always be someone who wants to rent out a property.
I think they'll
always come to the township.
A great need for
Are you in, Mr. Ruben?
I was saying that I think there's a very great need for mentorship.
Oh, they're here.
Indicators. If they would need to just maybe have a lot of properties.
I think Ruben's connection is.
I'm not so sure, but I was saying out of it because then they put so that.
We are losing you, Ruben. I think your internet connection is failing you.
I just wanted to have a quick one, Mathe, on the bank finance.
Yes.
If the backrooms are not on plans, they were not approved plans, the backrooms. Will the bank finance the whole backrooms as well, or they will only finance the house itself that was on the plan?
Okay. And thank you so much for this question, because I had one property whereby we struggled. So this goes back to the bylaws. When you build rooms, the municipality will tell you how many rooms that you need to build. So let's say that somebody is actually buying a property which is an existing structure, meaning that it had bedrooms, and some of these bedrooms were probably not, the plans were not even approved. What will happen now, we need to submit plans as built. And then certain extensions of that particular property, then we need to apply for demolition for them to be approved to comply with the bylaws of the municipality. So it goes back to bylaws that if you do it properly the first time, you don't have to struggle when you want to sell fund. You can't even sell that structure the way you have built it. I had so many times whereby people come to me, they've built the property and now they want to sell it and the bank can't finance it. Now we must do new applications as built, and sometimes we need to apply for certain rooms to be actually demolished for them to comply with the municipality bylaws. So
that one
bylaws are very important.
That was my concern as well, because looking at majority of the bedrooms, they're actually not approved. People just wake up tomorrow, decide to build a structure without a plan, without anything, and then it becomes a problem when you need to sell that property now. And funny enough, it's not only applying to those backrooms. Like even here in my complex, I see people extending their houses without plans, and I'm looking like, dude, how are you going to sell this house? Because the minute you want to sell the house, will only approve your old structure that you had before. The whole structure that you did now, it won't even apply. So I mean, I think we need to educate our people with our bylaws, because people just wake up tomorrow, buy material and start extending, and then they forget about the bylaws and other things that are very important.
Yeah, I think maybe on the next episode that we're going to have, or series, I can then invite a town planner that I've worked with, and he's quite clued up when it comes to bylaws, and he's passionate about township development. So we can talk to him and engage with him so that he can explain to the viewers and the public that why bylaws are important. And it shows like this that Tsima has done, that is there to educate the people, that when you build a backroom or you're building a complex, you need to have approved plans. They are there for certain reasons. One day we will want to sell that investment. So what's the point of building something that one day you can't be able to sell it? Remember, in real estate, you make your money when you buy. Did you get that? You make your money when you buy. You don't make your money when you sell. You make your money when you buy. So now if you are buying something that later on you won't be able to sell it, then what's the point? You might as well follow the proper procedure so that when comes that time to sell, there are no hassles.
You know, the more we dive deep into this subject, is the more I realize how much or how valuable the next episodes will be because of the series, and how much education is required, and the common term that keeps coming up is the education and knowledge, and the knowledge and coaching and mentoring within this space. So I'm very glad that we're having the upcoming or preceding episodes of this series, because the township is a whole ecosystem of its own, looking at it. And there are government plans that we've heard of previously, whereby government wants to develop the township, and there's also township economy plans that even Mr. Makura has announced previously. So I'm thinking there's great opportunity for people in the township to be coached into these opportunities. And within this ecosystem, for instance, Stockfells could also finance these buildings and development.
100%. True.
So we take portions of this township ecosystem. We bring in facilities, we bring in connectivity, we bring in, your black telecoms. I don't know what black people are doing in terms of connectivity. We most likely will have a show where we're talking about what our people are doing regarding those opportunities around connectivity and and supplying fiber in the township. So within
Yes.
that ecosystem, there's a lot of opportunities that can be explored just emanating from the property development part of it, and it can expand broadly into many parts of the township economy. So I'm very glad we're having these conversations, I would just like to say.
Yeah, and just also something that I think I need to also emphasize is that why bylaws are important, especially when you go to areas like the East Rand. Let me talk about the East Rand. You will understand that the East Rand is a dolomitic area. So meaning that certain areas you can't build even a house. There are certain areas in the township whereby houses, there are sinkholes underneath. So imagine that you are building a 2-story structure on a D1. So dolomites are classified as D1, D2, and D3. And then those classification will then tell you what you can build and what you cannot build. So now bylaws are so important whereby maybe you bought yourself a piece of land, but you did not follow the bylaws or didn't even do your dolomite study to understand that is there any dolomite in that land that you want to build in. So bylaws are so important because now we're talking about people's lives. So imagine you are building a property on a land that has a dolomite underneath it, and over time the structure starts to sink in. So bylaws are so important. I think I would love to actually invite a guest, a very close friend of mine, and he can now start explaining to us what is a D1, what is a D2, and what is a D3, and what is important that we understand those little things that can have a huge impact if we ignore them. So bylaws, when it comes to property development, are very important. You cannot ignore that. You can't ignore it.
Yeah. I'm convinced that this is an area that definitely will attract great interest from many, many people. I'm thinking aloud that if you think of the hospitality industry combined with property, somebody who lives in the main house is called Backrooms, and say you rent out, but I provide you with breakfast, lunch, and dinner from the main house. You know, you come like a mini hotel of some sort. Yeah.
Yes, there's actually also guest houses that are now being built in the township. You know, people are also now taking fair, they're building their guest houses, but obviously we are now talking about hospitality, something different from backroom. So backroom falls under the residential real estate. So when you go into guest houses, now you're talking about hospitality, and then you need to get it right also. You need to get proper mentorship from people who have done it before successfully also. So I actually wanted to also talk about the Rental Act.
Yes.
You know, just because, let's say Akona owns 10 rooms in Soweto, for instance, and then the way things were before is that if you don't pay me by the second or by the third, touching impahla zakho, that's it. No story. You don't pay me, go out. The new Rental Act now, and I think now they want to educate people, is that you can't just wake up and kick somebody out of your own property because they did not pay you rent. You need to give people at least 20 days notice. Doesn't matter whether it's your property or not. Number two, now, if somebody is renting out your property, with the new act, you must give them a receipt that they did pay you. You need to give them an invoice, and then once they've paid you, you need to give them a receipt to acknowledge that you received the payment. Number three, there must be a contract, which is now a huge thing. So by in the township, ngena is nigga, I go for humu, that's it. So that they want to also regulate that if you are renting out a room to someone, there must be a contract with conditions that must be explained to the tenant. You know, there must be a deposit. In the township, people don't want to pay deposit. So there must be deposit which must be invested in a interest-bearing account. So you can't take the deposit and use it for your own personal use. You must invest it. That is the Rental Act. And then the other thing is that when you are leasing out your property to somebody, you need to get the FICA documents. So you need to get the ID copies. You need to get the payslip. You need to get a proof of residential. So they must give you that EDGAS account, whatever form of proof that these people, in case that they are moving out from this place or I have to evict them, they can go somewhere. Because now if you're evicting someone and now the court finds that this person can't go anywhere, it's a problem on its own, especially when there's kids involved. So there must be a 3 months proof of residence that this person in case something happens to them. Also, there must be customer information sheet to record next of kin. Remember that people who are renting, especially in the township and especially in Gauteng, are people who are coming from Free State, KZN. And I have instances whereby I had tenants whereby, and I'm guilty about this, I did not ask the next of kin information and somebody dies and I don't even know who to contact. And those things, they happen. They really happen in the township. So you need to also get the next of kin information. In case of emergency, who should you contact first? So the Rental Act is all about that. And now the contract now, what the rental tribunal says that it will be available in 11 official languages. And the lease agreement will be free for anyone to download. If you are in Venda, we download it in Venda. In Sichonga, we download it in Sichonga. So everybody can be able to understand in the language that they are comfortable in. So the Rental Act is covering all of those things, but it's also stressing out that just because the landlord hasn't fixed a certain thing, it does not give the tenant the right not to pay rent. You need to pay rent, but however, you need to notify the landlord that this and this is not working, and the landlord must give the time frame when they'll be able to fix those things. So the landlords also, they need to be responsible that when you are renting out a room or any other property, you are in a business of maintenance automatically. Because residential people, there will always be a leakage, there will always be a plug not working. It comes with that business. You can't complain, say, last week we'll complain about this, and now this week you're complaining about this. This business comes with a lot of maintenance. It comes with that maintenance baggage with it. So I find some other people, they're having problems where they don't want to fix. You want to collect rent, but you don't want to fix. How do you expect people to live in a place which is not good for any human being to live in? You need to fix. When you go into that business, make sure that you have an account of savings aside for just maintenance. Maintenance only, because you will always be fixing. Trust me, you'll be fixing this and this and this and this and that. It comes with that business.
What about the insurance?
I think we're going to cover that on the later series. But then the most important thing, if you insure your asset, then if there's any maintenance things, like if a geyser basta, you can claim it directly from the insurance. Or your tenant loses a job and for 3 months they can't pay you rent, and while you're still busy with the eviction process, the insurance can be able to start paying you. But that we will talk about it nicely when we get to that series. But with the backroom business, it comes with maintenance. Like it or not, and also this business is like, people are very emotional. It's also good to get somebody who's a neutral person, because people get emotional, tenants get emotional, people will talk the way they want to talk to you, how they feel does not matter. And if it's easy for you to lose your temper and you lose a good tenant because there was a disagreement. But if you get somebody who's a middle person, who's not taking any side, who's there to do what is right for both parties, then you avoid a lot of problems. There was an instance whereby there's a property whereby I think it's about 5 bedrooms, and in the main house there's a young lady. In the bedroom there's a I wouldn't say he's young, but maybe he's about 21. And then this guy, when he saw this young lady who's about 16 years old, and it was such a huge thing now. So imagine if you're a landlord, you get yourself into that situation, you're going to tell everybody to take out of your property because they're causing you drama. But if you get a neutral person, they're able to handle the situation properly and make sure that who's accountable, the SAPS can deal with them and everything can go back into order. So when you get into the business of rental, you must know you are dealing with people are emotional about this thing. People are going to be emotional. They're going to swear at you. It just comes with it. You're going to do a lot of maintenance. You're going to get a lot of complaints and people are emotional.
So in fact, this business is emotionally stable in a way, because you can't run this if you are very emotional, because for sure
No, you can't.
Especially if you don't fix in time and all those things.
Yes.
So
Yes.
for sure. Another thing with this rental act, I think this rental tribunal needs to do a lot of work in communities, because looking at those old bedrooms, they are owned by old people that don't even know anything about bylaws, what the bylaw is. So we need to educate them deeply about this whole thing, because they are the one that hold majority of bedrooms currently.
Yes.
And me and you, we can do something that is a proper, decent structure with following all the bylaws, but they are the ones that didn't follow any bylaw.
Yes.
And I think we still need to do community participation processes and educate them a lot in terms of these whole bylaws. I think we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, the Rental Act is there. I mean, not in the Rental Tribunal is there for the community. The seminar, the conference that I attended, they said that people must come to them. They must come to approach them. So if you feel like you want them to come to your community, invite them and they will come. You must just provide the venue. They will come and do the training. So it will be up to community leaders also to stand up for their own people, because especially in the old townships where there's a lot of old people who don't know anything, they need to be educated, because at the end of the day, it's still a business, you know. They need to comply. Tax is also there. It's also there. Tax must be paid also. So you can't be collecting rent and not paying tax.
Yeah.
True, eh?
Yeah.
Maybe. Looking at this whole backroom thing and take it into a rural area, for example, where there is no bylaw, because most of rural areas, they don't even have bylaws in terms of anything. They don't have bylaws to follow. How do we now make sure that we still build the decent structures that maybe still compete with the township structures?
Every municipality has bylaws. There's no way, all municipalities, they have their own procedure that when you want to build, these are the guidelines. This is what you need to do. So even if in the rural areas, there is a municipality there.
In the rural areas, it's the chiefs and it's the chief that is the municipality. So I don't know. There's no municipality there. Except you must go talk to the chief about land and Nosbonda and so on.
It's the area of development, collaborative governance between the municipality and the owners of the land.
And the traditional leaders and things,
yes.
But I actually wanted to mention something very important, and I think this is one thing that our people are not aware of, and not following proper bylaws, we're missing out certain opportunities. There is a SARS incentive, which we call it the sex tax. So the section 38 of the SARS Act is that if you actually build certain structure for the purpose of rental, you're going to list them out, and you own 5 of them, SARS is able to reimburse you 100% of what you invested when you were developing that particular structure.
Okay.
So now, if we don't do certain things right, we are actually now missing out on other opportunities, whereby you can't actually bring the rebate back.
Beautiful. We have 5 minutes to round up. it looks like next time when we start, we'll just reflect on what we have covered today, so that we don't lose connection. I wish we had more time. If I may ask the colleagues just to check out for us 1 minute each, so that we don't go over time. I know it's a nice topic we want to carry on, but we have the next series, next episode we will use to reflect. Just check out for us, what is your take home for you from the first series, first episode?
I'm gonna start. For me, the takeaway is that we must embrace the bylaws, and we must embrace the regulations that are there, because they're there for us to prosper. And I would like also to put out a request to you, Ms. Mathe, and your colleagues within the property sector to encourage, educate, and mentor, coach, hold the hands of the people that are within the township property economy, and encourage them to be within the regulations. Because what will happen, what I foresee to happen, is that, as you had mentioned before, the bigger companies are now invading that space, and the bigger companies have the muscle and the capacity to cover themselves in terms of the bylaws and the requirements from the municipality, which will then inevitably kick other people out of this economy that have been there for the longest time, sustaining themselves, maintaining their livelihood within this. So I do strongly encourage people to learn, to educate themselves, and to follow the right path into growing their township property development economy. So that's my checkout, and I'm looking forward very much to our next episode of this series. And you have promised us a town planner, and we will hold you to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Akona, well, for my take on this whole thing is the bylaws. I think this is very, very, very crucial for us to follow all the bylaws and do the proper things. And we need to take this backroom as a proper business that is here to flourish, and people must take advantage of that. And those who have already started, they must keep up the good work. And I want to encourage our fellow brothers that, guys, let's do proper, decent backrooms. Let's not just build a room for the sake of building a room, but make it proper, where if it's possible, you can even turn it into a B&B or anything that you want. So don't just build any structure that you feel like you can just build anything as if you don't have plans. So let's plan properly and build proper, decent structures.
Beautiful, beautiful. My checkout. You want to check out, Mathe? We have 1 minute.
Yeah, just 1 minute, just to say that my wish or what I would love to see happening probably in the next 10 years is that we can see emerging property entrepreneurs or game changers who can take this to a whole new level. They can build proper structures. They can get this as an asset class on the JSE, and they can actually people can now start buying in shares from companies who are owning these backrooms. But it would be nice that this should be our own people, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my wish.
Absolutely. Mathe, with people like yourself, that is highly doable. And I believe that this platform is there to enrich your efforts. And thank you so much. The passion with which you're discussing this gives me such hope that the partnership we are building here is not for us, it's for the country, but we will benefit. I mean, this is our country. And the townships are our homes. People love townships. So we really have a case here to make even beyond our 5 series. But let's see how the 5 series go. And I agree with Akona. Please bring the town planner with you next time. Just make sure that Michael gets the contact and invite him accordingly. We are we're excited about this. And the videos will be available, all the podcasts will be available. So it's a build-up. There's certainly something will come out of it.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. We enjoyed
Enjoy
every
your
moment.
evening, and we will catch up next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.